Hello, Internet! Welcome to 2.5 Brains. This is our discussion of the latest episode of The Amazing Race. It was a couple weeks behind here. We tried to get them out right away, but with a little bout of COVID, we are a little bit behind trying to get caught up. So I apologize for that. But he said we're almost back. We're almost fully healthy, so we decided to record and get a recording out for you here. So be sure to subscribe to us anything like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pavement Road Productions. You can like our YouTube channel, like I said, right there, subscribe. So don't miss anything. You can email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com, facebook.com/pavementroadproductions. So you get everything, don't miss anything. I'm Yo Grubba. We'll go ahead and bring in our co-host, Jessica. Jessica, welcome to the show. Jessica is Blue's Clues today.
Yep.
So how you doing today, Jessica?
I'm alive.
Yeah, same.
I'm better.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Not exhausted anymore.
Yeah, Jessica got it first, and I got it a little later. So
I got it hard.
she got it harder than I did for sure.
Yeah.
But we're getting there. We're getting it back together. So hopefully, we're almost. When by the time you're hearing this, we should be just about fully healed. And
I mean, like 2 to 3 weeks later.
Yeah, exactly. We're almost back to normal. So
yeah, I'm fine. I feel fine. I feel great, actually.
Yeah.
I had the urge to clean the house today, so I'm feeling good.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You're
we were
welcome.
both out for like between about two to 3 weeks. We're about so I'm almost back completely, and a lot closer than I was a few days ago. So good to go, I guess. So let's go ahead and dive in here. The episode 4. So after a couple episodes behind, we'll get caught up here and get them out and go from there. So, What is episode 4? What happened with episode 4?
While they were in Switzerland.
Yes.
Episode 4 was the beginning of after COVID.
Correct.
So they brought the teams back in, and then like we debated, they brought back old teams that were eliminated. And the only ones that came back were Arun and the Buffalo Boys.
Yeah, Mo and Michael.
Still trying to block all that out.
Yeah.
Still.
Michael and Mo.
Yeah, Michael and Mo.
Yeah, and they so with that, obviously there was only 5 teams that could come back, and we have the details on why the teams didn't come back.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that here in a minute. The 5 teams that brought back, plus the 2 teams that were previously eliminated, came back as well.
Right.
Which not for nothing, but bringing those 2 teams back, those 2 teams were kind of cannon fodder anyways. So.
Well, I mean, they were only 3 legs into it before COVID hit, so it's not like they missed that much. So
yeah.
I was less upset about them bringing, like, if I was, a team there, I'm sure some weren't happy that they brought them back after being eliminated, but this is kind of basically starting over, really, at this point.
It is, and they kind of said the way they made it sound like we're either bringing these teams back or we're not finishing the season.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you either have 0 chance of winning or your odds go down by 2.
Yeah.
And either way, they're not bringing back good teams. So,
right.
Which we'll talk about. Right. So we'll go ahead and start here about what happened in the episode. Before we do that, though, the 4 teams that could not come back.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to talk about it, or how do you want to do it?
Sure.
Okay.
So Anthony
and Spencer.
Spencer.
Yeah, they did not come back. What
Yes.
happened?
Anthony. Yeah, he got Spencer.
Anthony
did? Okay, so. Anthony got a big boy job that he didn't want to leave, or he couldn't walk away from because he got a new job, basically. Yeah,
so with COVID, he got hired his first real job, whatever you can say, and he was really liked it, so he didn't want to walk away. He couldn't really walk away to come back, and they had to take off time from work to get there originally, so he got a new job, couldn't walk away to come back on the race, so unfortunately they couldn't finish.
Right.
The next team on the list was Sam and Connie.
Yes.
What happened with them?
Pregnant / had a baby.
Yeah, so they actually were pregnant early on in the race before they shut down the race, and then now they have a 1-year-old baby.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't finish.
Right.
Cool. Anything else to say about them? Or that was my winner pick, obviously.
Right.
How could I have known? They weren't doing that well anyways, but still. Next was Isaiah and Taylor.
Yes, they were the ones that had a death in the family. I
did,
believe.
yes.
Yeah.
I think it was I think it was one of their brothers who passed away, and they just decided to not do it. And
Yeah.
Lulu and Lala had a similar situation, but it was their grandmother. I guess it was somebody a little bit younger.
Yeah.
So they wanted to not go back
with
out.
The family, yeah.
And finally,
I can't remember the last.
Caro and Ray.
Oh, Caro and Ray.
Very forgettable
Yeah,
team.
well, not shockingly, they broke up,
Yeah.
so that's why they didn't come back.
Correct. So yeah, and no surprise there. They broke up in early 2020. So.
Right, which also debunks my guess that they met on, we already realized that they met on a TV show after the fact, but when we first did our introductions, I thought that they met
During COVID.
during COVID.
Yeah.
I think we talked about all this in our last one, didn't we? I feel like we talked about it in the car. Or I think we just made assumptions
Speculated.
in the car.
Yeah, but this
Yeah.
is the official, because
Right.
it came out after the fact, all this information.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
That's right. Yep. Never mind.
You got it. Cool. So that's how that went. So the 7 teams that were left were Ryan and Dusty, Holderness, Lulu and Lala, Akbar and Sherry, and the flight attendants, Kayla and Raquel. And then they brought back Arun and Natalia. Arun and Natalia.
Uh-huh.
And Mo and Michael.
Yeah.
Cool. So those are the teams that restarted the race. They restarted in Switzerland 19 months basically after they suspended production, and they said they're going to do a lot more self-driving, they're going to be kind of like leaving in pairs so they can have less crew and like that. And it's definitely they're definitely making COVID modifications for the season. They haven't really been too noticeable yet, but we'll certainly see.
Yeah. I mean, kind of, but yeah.
Yeah, a little bit different stuff, but it hasn't been too crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Cool. What is next?
The roadblock, which was the country trek along the mountaintops to get their clue.
Yeah, so it was really neat. That was the one that got to walk, and they got to see 6 or 7 different countries in the one spot.
I think it was 6
or 8 even.
No, it wasn't 8. I don't think it was.
It was
that
at least
many.
6.
I think it was 6.
They got to see 6 different countries from where they were standing.
Yeah.
Which was really neat.
Yeah.
So they basically trekked through the Alps or whatever it was.
Yeah, in Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So how'd that go? Anything to start off from there?
I mean, Sherry struggled a lot. She was the end of the pack. What was it? Did Mo do it? The Buffalo guy that did it, I think it was Mo.
Yeah,
because it was Michael Nora, it was Mo. I mean, he was second last, which is kind of surprising because you're in a physical job and you can't really get, you're taking a long time. Not surprisingly, Ryan did well.
Penn did really well. He ended up passing a couple teams.
Penn passed a couple teams on his way back. But, yeah, I mean, nothing surprising. The people in the order that it happened was not surprising.
Right. And then obviously that was the roadblocks, so one teammate could perform down.
Right.
What is next?
The detour.
The detour decision. What was that one?
So one was having to make a story out of decals on a belt. You had to put it in order of the story of the decals and attach them to the belt. Or the other one, you had to learn a flag twirling routine and then perform it in front of a judge.
Mm-hmm. And which one did you like better? Which one would you have done?
I mean, I liked the flag one, and I would have did the flag one. Scratch that. I like the flag one. I used to twirl flag when I was younger in school, so I know how to do it. But it was a different kind of flag than I did anyways. I think that the belt one was easier. It might have been a little bit more time consuming, but you didn't have to take all that time to learn a routine. If you're not good at learning routines, then you're not going to be good at doing that flag. And let's be honest, though, most of the judging in this season so far has been lackluster, and they've been very relaxed about it. I still think the belt would have been easier because it's, putting it in the order, and it basically kind of tells you what to do. You just had to start at the right end of the belt. Yeah.
So it's the belt one. I think if you messed up, it's really good. It's really hard to come back from. Where the other one has a learning curve. Once you get it, you're good.
Right.
So, but it takes a while to get it. I think the belt one is very straightforward, but if you mess it up, it's time consuming.
Yeah, I mean the flag one can get so easily confused because you're only using one hand the whole time. and you have to know how you're moving your arm to make the movements that they're doing, and it wasn't always straightforward on what they're doing, but
No, for sure. I definitely understand. Definitely agree with that. I could really go either way with that. I mean, I think if you did it right, the belt is the easier one.
yeah.
But only 2 teams in that one. So.
Yeah.
Cool. What's next?
Who got eliminated?
So who got eliminated, Jessica?
Nobody. Everyone went home and had soup and was happy.
Yeah. So it's just funny because they brought back 2 teams, and then they got down to the final 5. I think it was, or 6, and Akbar and Sherry were there, and it was like, come all this way just to be the first one out. It's really bad for whoever that is. And they're like, oh, that's not okay.
Yeah, because they were real behind on everything.
Yeah.
Because of that, the truck.
Yeah.
But surprisingly enough, they got the flag thing down pretty quickly and made it through that very quickly.
Yeah, which was very surprising for sure. But it's also the thing too. I think not for nothing, but basketball players. One thing about them is they're very, like you wouldn't think. Like football players. They're way more collision based, right? They're more physical, whereas playing basketball translates so well to so many other sports. And
you kind of have to have agility, and you have to have hand-eye coordination and all that stuff to play
sure.
basketball.
And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, for example, look at some of the best tight ends in the NFL. A lot of them play basketball because a lot of the body movements are similar for going up to catch a rebound as going up to catch a football, or moving your feet in a certain way and being light on your feet, and that kind of stuff is good for the flag thing.
So what's Josh Allen's? Because he played basketball in high school more so than football.
Yeah. Oh, he's tall, can throw the ball. I mean,
Agile,
absolutely, very quick on his feet.
Just had to throw that out there. Go Bills. Except,
anyways, who got eliminated, Jessica?
The Bills got eliminated. The Buffalo Boys, Norwood and Mo, got eliminated because they did the belt and said, "Well, we'll start on this side, and if it's wrong, we'll just fix it." Instead of figuring out if you're starting on the right side or not. If you're doing it opposite of the other team, you should just stop and figure it out if you're doing it wrong or not. Because they risked finding out that it was wrong, and then I got eliminated. Because, of course, the first episode back is going to be an elimination.
Right.
So, yeah, that was even more heartbreaking the second time. Come on, guys.
Being out first, got a second chance, and went out first again. Horrible.
Come on,
horrifying.
Guys. No wonder there wasn't stuff all over on. There's been no advertisement in Buffalo except
they're hiding and.
Well, yeah, I know. The second one that they got eliminated, though, there was an article that did end up coming out from somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because BBF picked the winner, and now he picked the loser twice, so that's exciting.
Yeah. So technically he lost twice, so.
I guess. Good Lord. Just brutal. And it was the bottom line is they weren't in the greatest physical shape. They were fine. They were, they're good singers, whatever, but they're actually probably a little bit older too, I would think, than some of the other teams.
They're in their 30s.
You think?
Yeah.
And they're probably in their 40s.
I don't think so, because they would have made a bigger deal that they were an older team.
Yeah. I don't know. Either way, they didn't seem like they were in amazing shape, and they they just had no attention to detail whatsoever.
But they weren't in bad shape, though.
No,
they were fit people.
Fit, yeah.
But, a Buffalo cop on a daily job probably isn't always super strenuous. Right. Not to say they don't do anything, but, they're not going down chasing people around all the time as much as people think Buffalo is a terrible city.
Yeah.
No,
you're right. And I said, I think I don't think the athleticism either way was...
That wasn't the problem.
Right.
No, it was the attention to detail.
Correct. And that was it. They didn't pay attention to the little things. They kind of just
No. And they winged it and said they'll fix it if it's wrong.
Yeah, right.
You don't do that.
Yeah, they were definitely dudes, right? They're like, oh, well, instead of, asking for directions, I'm just going to drive in 100 miles in this direction, see what happens.
I'm going to do it wrong the first time and have them check it and realize it's wrong, and then we'll just fix it. It's fine.
Right.
Except...
Yeah,
that cost you the game.
Again. It did, yeah, for sure. So definitely not attention to detail. And like you said, if you look at the teams, I don't think they were really cast on the show to win. There's always those people who are cast on the show who are there to kind of be a pawn for the good players. The Survivor does a lot more than Amazing Race, but the last 2 seasons of Amazing Race, look at the teams who were there near the end, and the teams who went out early. You could have run the race last season, this season, the season before. You could run that race 50 times, and the teams who were in the top 5 would have finished in top 5 45 out of the 50.
Probably.
You know what I mean? Like, there's certain teams that are head and shoulders better than the other ones, and then the teams who are there aren't. You know, and I'm not complaining. I'm not saying whatever. They had a chance, as good of a chance as anybody, but they just, you could tell they weren't gonna win the race.
I have to agree with that because it's hard to cast people and know that they're going to be not good or not, because they'll tell you you're being casted. It's an interview. You're telling them what they want to hear because you want to get on the race, most likely. But you can figure out later a team that you thought was going to be really good ended up being really bad, and they don't have direction, like the travel agent or the flight attendants. Like, they say they have such good direction because you're a flight attendant, but like, you're just on the plane. You're not actually driving the plane.
Right.
Like, so saying you have good direction doesn't mean anything. I mean, if you know where your countries are and stuff, like, yeah, but you're not the one that's getting there.
Yeah, there's so many things, like, you know, obviously the more self-driving they do, the more variance is added and that kind of stuff. But
if you can't read a map because
Right.
you don't get a phone and everybody GPS is everywhere, like, that means you have poor direction.
Right.
If you can't read the map. Find a landmark. You find where you are and you find the landmark and then you know where you are. Like,
and so few things,
hard.
more, and so few things in the race are actually having to do with travel. So many of them are.
Everything has to do with travel and direction.
Well, but I'm saying like the thing. Oh, if you give a bad taxi or a bad airplane or whatever, that, you know, or not bad, you know, but the delayed flight, whatever. That stuff has very little to do with it, because those unfortunate things end up coming out in the wash at the end, anyways.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I
if
mean?
you can't read the map and you're
Right.
telling your person to drive the wrong way, like, that's all on you, and you need to know how to do this in order to do the game.
Even
at
driving
all.
stick, right? You gotta learn how to do
Well,
that. You
yeah,
have to.
100%. You're in another country most of the time, if not all of the time.
Right.
So, like, you have to learn that.
And that's, I guess, what I mean is, like, you know, you could say, you know, the traveling, you know, it's they're not good traveling, or they're not this or that, or, you know, airports, whatever. That stuff has I mean,
It's all set up for you, though. Like,
what's
that, you
what I'm
just
saying?
have to
That's
show
so
up.
little to do with it. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that's so little to do with it. It has way more to do with, like,
The
are you good at the
taxis-
challenges?
Yeah, well, the taxis, though, it's different because it's luck of the draw. So, yeah, that has that part, but you can't control. But, like, if a taxi screws up, like, yeah, you're screwed.
Yeah.
But you just can't control that part.
Right, and that how often do teams get knocked out because of a bad taxi? Almost never.
Yeah, there was a couple rough times the first couple episodes, though.
Yeah, I mean, in rough times, but they
And,
usually.
like, the past couple seasons, there were people that got stuck at certain points.
Yeah, but they usually overcome.
Usually.
Or you lose, and that's not like that's a like, teams have lost because of that, because the taxi was slower, but they were near the end anyway. Like I've only seen it happen once, where a team was in the front of the pack and a taxi cost them, made them lose.
Well, yeah, I've never said someone that was first end up losing because of a taxi.
I've
but
seen
if
it
it's
once,
like,
but
if there's 2 or 3 people towards the end and you get a bad taxi, like, yeah, that costs you the game then.
it does. But you're also near the back, right?
Yeah.
So you can't, you know.
Right, but you could be the third one to leave, or the first one out of the 3 to leave, and then you lose because yours is not going in the right direction or whatever.
But most of the time, the teams overcome those obstacles. The good teams will find a way to overcome those obstacles, and they won't be in the back of the pack to begin with.
Yeah, okay.
And that's kind of what I'm saying. So,
Yeah, it's neither here nor there.
So that's it. The traveling or the issues with those kinds of things aren't usually what the factor is. It's bad sense of direction, no attention to detail, not good at the challenges, and pretty much you can say check for the Buffalo guys. Weren't great at direction, weren't good at challenges, and zero attention to detail.
Yeah.
And that cost them big. I mean, how many times, you know, they go the wrong way, or they run past something or whatever, they didn't pay attention. I mean, you could tell how they're gonna play based on the first challenge that they got knocked out on, when they were just putting stuff on the wall and gluing it, like, without actually thinking it's a puzzle. You know, like, come on, how do you not think about it?
Yeah, picked up on that pretty quickly after they started putting it up. Like, oh, this has to have some sort of puzzle.
Right. You know, and it was just silly, and it was a mistake that you really can't make. So it's, you know, paying attention to the details, you know, and being good at the challenges, and having a good sense of direction. But, you know, the biggest thing I think for them is just no attention to detail at all. Just trying to do stuff. You know, let's run as fast as we can in one direction, and if it's wrong, we'll run as fast as we can back in the other direction. It's like, well, if you take 10 seconds and figure out which direction to go, you'll save a lot of time and energy.
Right.
So, anything else to add to them, other than, you know, tar and feather for letting down their city? That's all right. We still like you guys, sort of. We said that the first one we forgave you. The second time,
I thought you were really gonna say that's okay. At least we have the Bills, and I was gonna say.
Well, then the Bills, of course, immediately lose the week after in the playoffs. So, like a couple days later. So it was a rough week for Buffalo.
That's all right. Everybody talks about that as the best game ever. So that makes me happy.
Hashtag City Losers. All right. Anyways, that's Baltimore, not Buffalo. Anyways, moving on. So let's go ahead and talk about power rankings. So the 6 teams that are left. Is there anything else, or who not going to that?
No.
All right. Who's number 6?
Arun and Natalie.
Yeah. So they're not good either.
No, and no. I wouldn't say their attention to detail is bad. They have really bad direction and can't figure out where they're going.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, it's like and I guess Natalia. I think her name's Natalia.
I think so.
She got married during COVID, so that's exciting for her. They're wearing a shirt that say Detroit versus everybody. Detroit couldn't beat anybody, so good on them.
They won one.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wunderbar. But no, I mean, with Natalia and Arun, I think it's like, she's small. I mean, moderately athletic. He's older. He's tall. But, again, it's one of those things where I don't think they were really... I mean, they were cast, obviously, check a box, which, not for nothing.
Team.
Right, and Middle Eastern or whatever. They're big fans of the race, which is great, but doesn't mean you can run the race. To me, it's, again, like a couple of these teams, it's here's the rock stars, here's the, fans of the rock star. Who's going to be able to play the better music, right? I mean, it's it's Tom Brady versus a JV quarterback. Who's gonna throw the ball better? It's not close. It's not going to be close, and they're getting run over, and it's not fair to them. They have no chance. I really feel like they have no chance.
I still think you're speculating on teams though, because they don't know how they're going to be until they get into.
And I'm not necessarily saying that they knew they weren't going to win, but looking at it, even
seeing how they have been after a couple episodes, they're not getting better. They're not going to get better. But you're talking like they're casting people because they're casting this group as, well, they're not going to be good, so we'll cast them anyways because,
Yeah, and I'm not...
They don't cast based on like, oh, these are going to be the rock stars and these aren't going to be the rock stars.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true. I guess I'm not really saying that they cast them to lose. I mean, I guess they don't, that's way more Survivor than The Amazing Race, I think, but... Because they know people aren't going to have a social game and aren't going to, get along with anybody.
Yeah, and that's different.
But I think in this, though, too, you can tell, I mean, if you're going to cast, well, you have a chance to put on these super fit, super athletic people, or these people who are a little overweight and aren't in good shape. And like I said, you're casting, they have, I mean, look at last season. I mean, honestly, the athletes didn't win, but they cast athletes. Or, 2 of the final 4 teams were professional athletes. Mm-hmm. Like, well, go figure they made the final 4. You know what I mean? Like, it's like...
There's so many factors, though.
Yeah, there are.
Because you're saying an overweight people can't do well, that they're... I could go on and on about all this stuff. I don't want to.
No, I said, I'm not saying they can't do well. But I guess I'm saying, like, it's like if you cast, like, for example, you cast a professional athlete on Survivor... that they'll do well in the challenge, but they'll get knocked out because it's social. It's basically all physical. So you're casting professional athletes. It's like you and me versus professional athletes. Who's gonna win?
Yeah, it's endurance, but I mean, professional athletes could not have sense of direction as well.
That's true,
and that would go not in their favor.
And that's true.
So, I mean, there's too many factors that play into it.
But to me, that has become such a small part of the show, is the direction and the traveling. It's been like if you're gonna get picking up stuff and putting them down, doing that really quickly is gonna give you more of an advantage than somebody who can drive well in a straight line.
But that's also though every time there's an option of something, it's either physical or choreographed or something like that.
Right. So decisions are important too.
That's true. You play to your strength. Some people aren't physical at all. Some people can be skinny and not be physical.
That's true.
Being an athlete doesn't mean you have to be thin. you can be overweight and actually be athletic.
No, you're right.
That has nothing to do with it.
You're right, and I agree. I just think there's teams who are just gonna roll in some of the challenges, and the other teams are going to really struggle. It's like average people against people who are super athletes or whatever. It's like well, who's gonna do better or not, take athlete out of it? It's like
take athlete out of it. There's some people that are just good at everything that they do.
Right.
And that's how it is, because there's some people that can just figure things out right away, or some people, because I mean, you want to talk about that?
Tyler and Corey.
Ryan and Dusty struggled with. I can't get ahead of myself.
So the bottom line is, and they have had challenges that weren't awesome,
right.
But at the same time, I just think there's when you cast normal people and then you cast like celebrities, or whatever, somebody like they said they had scientists on one show, with professional scientists, like those aren't average people.
No,
those are scientists, and they won the race because they again they didn't do necessarily amazing, but there were some challenges that were like, it's like figure this out. They're like 2 seconds they had done it. Other people are like getting a pen and paper.
Right.
It's like well when they have I guess you can take an athlete out of it, when somebody has a superhuman skill and they're going against normal people, it's like unless you have a different superhuman skill that can counter that, you're screwed. Like Mo and Michael, if they had a professional singing thing, maybe they win. A challenge that involves singing, maybe they dominate that challenge.
Yeah.
But unless that's their skill set, unless that comes up in the challenge, that skill set's not gonna get you that far.
And that's why Holderness is doing so well when it comes to any performance, because they do performances and they're used to choreographing their own stuff and learning it and practicing it. So they're dominating every time there's something like that. But it's because they're good at it. Mm-hmm. If a normal person can be good at it, you don't have to be a celebrity to be good at it.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. It's just it's been tough for me.
Downplaying certain people because they're not these superhuman people.
Well, and I'm not saying it's wrong or it's right. I'm just saying it's something that I've noticed.
Yeah.
Especially lately, there's been a lot of that where a lot of that where there's a certain skill that they have and they dominate those types of challenges. And it's just like if it was a level playing field, I mean, put it this way. If you look at our power rankings, we'll get wrap up here and go from there. But if you look at our power rankings, there's going to be the same 3-4 teams going to the top every time, and the other ones aren't going to be in the top because it's obvious who's got a shot to win.
Right.
And that's obvious week 2 or 3, and it's going to stay that way until this final 4. It hasn't really been any mystery the last few seasons of who's going to win. Like you had, I think, Nick and Vic. They were the only non-Amazing Race team that went far.
Yeah.
Like last season, there was a final 5. They had an alliance together. They were going to the end. Mm-hmm. You knew those 5 were going to the end. Hasn't been anything since then. I mean, before then, there was some occasional, people slip in and somehow win or somehow get to the final 3 who were kind of, weren't that good. But, it's been the top teams have been dominating. The bottom teams have been just barely hanging on until they can't hang on any longer. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's been. Yeah. And it's been just the top 2-3 teams rolling everybody else, and it's a cakewalk.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but I don't necessarily always think there's just exact reason for it.
Yeah, for sure. So we can move on. So that was number 6 was Arun and Natalie and Natalia. Who was number 5?
Akbar and Sherry.
Yeah. So why are they here?
I mean, I don't like to say it like this, but they played basketball in college, but obviously they haven't done much. And I'm not saying because anybody's overweight, because like I said, there's people that are bigger and run marathons and stuff, so it has nothing to do with it. She just didn't have the endurance, so trekking across all the mountains, it took her longer. Mm-hmm. And Akbar kept saying he should have did it. Well, then he should have just did it, because their bickering is ugh.
Yeah, they bicker a lot.
But I mean, they're also always behind, mm-hmm. and then end up catching up at some point. Most of the time.
They're always but that's kind of what you're saying too, right? They're everybody else getting there. It's still daylight. They're getting there. It's midnight, and they're well, we're last. Actually, no, 2 of the teams are even worse than you.
Right.
And it's just well, geez, I guess that's good that they're not last, but they're not close to first. They're way closer to last than first.
Oh, well, yeah, they always are, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean...
It always seems though, they struggle with the roadblock, and then the detour is fine.
Yeah. No,
that's usually what happens. They get behind on the roadblock, and then they catch up on the detour.
It's weird. When they communicate and don't argue, they do better.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
Yeah, so if everybody just shuts the F up, then you'll do fine.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the key to Amazing Race.
That's kind of life.
It's key to life too, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, let's shut up now, and then we'll just stare at the screen for the rest of the podcast. Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
14 hours later.
Exactly.
All right.
SpongeBob.
Exactly. Who's number was it, 4?
Lulu and Lala.
Yeah, they have again. They're pretty high variance for me. I can see them going pretty decently far because they have had some legs where they finished pretty 2 or second or third, I think third or fourth, whatever, and then they had legs where they're almost out.
Yeah.
In fact, in the second leg they were last.
They were not a limb. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in continuation, so I mean, I can see them going either way, but I don't see them. If you ask me who's got the best shot of winning, I would put them, here. I wouldn't think that, even, regardless of how they've done in the past, whatever, I don't think they're quite near the top.
No, I don't think so either. They're middle of the pack. They're one of your skinny, athletic people that aren't always good at what they are.
Or athletic. But yeah, totally.
Whatever.
Totally. They said the grandma passed during COVID, so they've been talking about that a lot and trying to, win
inspiration, for her. Yeah.
What else? Number 3?
Number 3, flight attendants.
Raquel and Kayla.
Huh? Yeah, Raquel and Kayla. I'm just calling them by their nicknames.
Fine.
So, whatevs.
Raquel and Kayla.
If you watch the show, you know their names. I shouldn't have to tell you every week.
Exactly.
Right?
Grumpy Gills.
Not grumpy. I'm rating it how you rate it.
Okay. So Raquel and Kayla, the flight attendants, why are they here?
They're usually towards the top of the pack for most things, even though they can and do get lost still. But they usually will find their way.
Yeah, they're middle of the pack. They're maybe the high end of the middle of the pack, but for me, they're still a middle of the pack team. I don't see them.
They're a top 3 team.
I would say, based on who's left, yes. I would say if you would have gone into it with who was, if you would have said, looking at if nobody got knocked out because of COVID, I would have said they were middle to lower middle of the pack.
Right, but that's not what we're talking about. So that's why I said top 3 team, because we're talking about who's left.
But but they're not like definitively top 3. I can see Lulu or Lala being better than them. So
yeah.
I can say they're
top 14.
Of the 6 left.
Sorry.
Let's say of the 6 left, I'd say they're middle of the pack.
Okay.
In that regard.
I'll stop talking now. You finish.
No, I'm just saying, I'd say, if there's of the 6 left, they're middle of the pack. I would say of the 6. I would say they're not the two best shot to win. I wouldn't say the 2 best shot to be knocked out. I'd say I could see them getting knocked out. I could see them going in the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, who is number 2?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, number 2, Jessica.
Holderness family. Oh wait, no, sorry. Penn and Kim. Penn and Kim, the Holderness family, are number 2. Sorry, I need their names. Penn and Kim Holderness.
Okay.
Happy?
No, not at all. So, all right. Why are
Penn and Kim?
Pim and Ken?
Penn?
Why are Pim and Ken number 2?
Because they're awesome. Because, their strengths are performing, and there's been a performing thing for almost all of the legs. Mm-hmm. Their attention to detail is very good, especially because Penn is kind of ADHD, so he says he eventually will zone in so hard on what he's doing that he focuses very much, and they have a good sense of direction. They're in a good spot.
Yep, no, I agree. I think they've done a good job. I can definitely see them winning. I feel like they remind me a lot of the team, the older couple who gets to the end and falls just short. I mean, that's kind of how I see for them. I wouldn't put
they're gonna win
money necessarily on them winning, but they have just about as good of odds as anybody else. I'm just really disappointed overall, just because I said I would have loved to have seen the whole cast. I was really pumped for the cast.
Yeah.
Of course, in the COVID season, the season that things are great and you really like the cast.
Yeah, there's a great cast.
Yeah, and then of course the other seasons that you don't really care, they drag it out for the whole 13 episodes. You have to see all these idiots. Like, I remember the one season I really, really hated was, I think it was a random pairs couple maybe, and it was, they just picked 2 random people, and I think it was Brooke and Scott. I think it was Scott and Brooke. Scott Flannery and Brooke Cammy, I think. And they were on there, and they were really annoying. They didn't get along. But they were fans of the show, and they made a couple of moves that kind of only fans would know about, and then end up getting to the end and winning. And I was just like, ugh, because I didn't like them. But, like, that was a season, again, it had some cool twists, had some cool, they basically put random people together. They met at the starting line, and that was cool. But it was a season where I didn't really like a lot of the teams, but they go all the way deep in the, it goes all to the end, and that's it. And it's like, all right, I guess. This season I really wanted to see how it was going to play out because I really liked pretty much every single team. And then we had to start and restart and stop and restart and then we had to, lose some teams, bring some teams back, and it was just like, ugh, I would have really liked to have seen, how all the different teams
would have panned out if everybody stayed.
Right, of course, and I, so it's kind of, they went from being like 4 or 5 teams I felt really good about having a chance to win to like 2, who had a chance to win. It's kind of like, all right, which one of these 2 teams is going to do it? If one of them gets knocked out, well, I guess the other one's going to do it because the other teams don't seem like they have a chance.
Right.
But I like Penn and Kim. I just hate the fact that whoever wins the season is going to have a major asterisk on it, which sucks.
Yeah, like everything else from those years. So, yeah.
But I guess the money is still green, it still spends, right?
It surely does.
So, unless they give them like pesos and then it's like pink and purple.
Nah, I don't think so.
Anyways, so it doesn't really spend. Okay.
Or plastic Canadian money.
Yes, exactly. Loonies and toonies.
Yep.
All right. So, anyways, who's everyone on our power rankings?
Ryan and Dusty.
Yep, Ryan and Dusty still leading the pack, still doing a good job, still a team you'd probably put money on to win. And they're pretty cocky,
A little bit.
But they they're the best team, and it's the other teams aren't really keeping up with them.
Here's the thing, though. They work together with Penn and Kim sometimes.
Yeah.
So, like, they'll get there at the same time, but it depends on who goes first for certain things and whatever, too. So, they're neck and neck.
No, they are. They are. And I think, it's one of those things where I think Penn and Kim, if somebody's like, oh, who's, there's a detour or not detour,
roadblock.
No, a U-turn.
Uh-huh.
I don't see Penn and Kim be the ones who get U-turn because they're not that out front. Like Dusty and them are out front and overtly.
Other teams wouldn't U-turn them. They'd U-turn Ryan and Dusty over them.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yes, agreed. You gotta specify. I thought you meant Ryan and Dusty would U-turn them. Wouldn't U-turn them?
No, I
don't think they would do that either. But
if again, it's a matter of 2. If you're in first place the whole time, nobody can U-turn you.
Yeah.
All right, because you get the first. But
right.
I mean, I think it's one of those things where sometimes being the second or third best team is the smarter way to go because it's hard to run a perfect leg, and eventually or a perfect race, and it's eventually if you're way out front, everybody knows you're out front, you're the threat. They're gonna go after you.
The only one that counts to be first is the very last one.
Exactly.
I mean, you miss out on all the prizes, but you win more at the end. So
absolutely, absolutely for sure. So we'll see what happens. I think I like that team too. I think they are fun. Are a fun team. He said when they restarted, he goes, yeah, being in quarantine for a year, it was like being in jail again. It's like, oh god, oh boy. So
well, I guess it felt like we were all in jail then, if that's what he felt like.
I guess so.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, anything else, Jessica?
I don't think so.
All right, so be sure to subscribe to us. Anything, you can like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pavement Road Productions. You can email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. That's pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. We'll get these out as soon as we can. I gotta get my voice a rest. I'm out of breath and tired and everything else. So we'll try to get out another show here the next couple of days. Get caught up here by the end of the week, hopefully. But like I said, definitely subscribe so you don't miss when we do get it out, and you'll get it sent right to you. Anything else, Jessica?
No.
Meow, exactly. So until next time,
Selena.
safe travels.